Hey folks, welcome back to, what is this, the third installment of the 2,000 subscriber Q&A Extravaganza. Sorry that I missed last week. A whole bunch of things just kind of converged on me, and I couldn't finish them all. And this was honestly lower on my priorities list because the other ones kind of involved school, and school's kind of important. Anyway, I completely forgot how I set up my camera / iPhone for the last episode, so now you're looking more up at me, and you can sort of barely see the light out there, and if we do everything right, it should still be light out when we're done. So picking up hopefully where I left off, somewhere around there. 126 Master Sword asks, how old were you when you played your first Legend of Zelda game? I am not entirely certain. I know that the first Zelda game that I got when it was new was, I think, Oracle of Seasons. I have the strongest memory of that. My brother, came and got me from my friend's house where I was hanging out, with Seasons for me and Ages for him. And that was 2000, 2001, somewhere around there, so I was 7 or 8. Majora's Mask I also played earlier on. But I know that I had already played, to a certain extent, Ocarina of Time by the time those came out, so I would say I was 7 to give a rough estimate, which is a pretty early introduction. I didn't have an SNES or anything, though, so I don't, I'm not as early as probably some of you fans out there. And 126 Master Sword also asks, nothing to do with anything recent, but why couldn't Lyco hear the game audio in your Wind Waker series? And that gets into basically the technical setup of how I had to record those videos. Basically, I had the game bridge, putting one video output. Well, this time I was recording with S-Video, right? So there's the S-Video going into the game bridge, and the composite going to the monitor so I could see it with a little less delay. And all the audio went into the game bridge so that it could be captured by the computer. And I was wearing headphones so I could hear it. Lyco was not, and at that time we didn't have the technology available to us to have both of us wearing headphones and hearing the same thing. Now Lyco has a cool little 6-headphone jack thing, so we can hear any and all co-commentaries at the same time, so that's less of an issue. And I didn't have the sound going out of the TV, because that would cause really annoying issues with the commentary track, the recording of the voices. You don't want the game audio coming through there. Then, here we go. Blanket11 asks, do you like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood? Now, I basically have a stock response for this by this point, because I discuss it so often with my friends. I really like both Fullmetal Alchemist series. The original is really good in its own right. I think it's well-paced, with fun ideas and action and whatnot. And Brotherhood is also pretty darn good. I didn't actually watch the anime past about where the continuity splits, but I've read the manga, and I hear it's basically 100% accurate, except for maybe some pacing issues at the end. But I really like both continuities. I think I like the ideas, just on a purely unscientific level, I like the ideas of the original anime more. I think what they did with the homunculi and their backstories is more interesting in the original. But other than that, they're both really good. So there's a 2-for-1 for there. I enjoy both. Mariachi Man 7 asks a whole bunch of Pokemon related questions. Oh dear. If you were a gym leader / Elite Four member, what would your type specialty be, and what team would you use? If one type would be too constricting and allow for 2, what would be the signature Pokemon of your team? And it would be a rematch team, so you can have 6 Pokemon. I also want to give an in-game team, so you're free to do that. Oh, good lord. I think I said at a prior point in the special that I would use Steel type, if nothing else. And good lord, this thing casting a very large shadow over me. Steelix comes to mind, Magnezone, Metagross. There aren't that many Steel-type Skarmory. This isn't the sort of thing I would come up with on the fly, probably, but I know for a fact that Steelix and Metagross would absolutely be on there, and Steelix probably as the signature Pokemon. But that's a complicated question with no good answer, so I'm not going to dwell too much on it. 129 Metal asks 3 questions. How does eat food? What is fire? And who are you? And these are all really philosophical questions that I don't think, even if I didn't care about time constraints, I would be able to adequately address in a video like this. I'll briefly touch on each of them. How does eat food? Generally, like, for humans, and most philosophy is based around humans, it's an oral process, which, it's tied to language, which is another defining characteristic of humanity. And I think that lends itself to the interpretation of food and eating as a social act more than a survival act, especially in today's rather, consumer society. We don't need to worry about surviving, at least most of us who have access to YouTube. And so, in asking how does eat food, I would say by making it a social act. And then what is fire? Fire, I mean, it's kind of the basis. It's what let us get to the point that we can make food a social act. It allows us to cook. It allows us to survive in cold environments. It allows us to create, by a bunch of chains of logic and engineering, it allows us to create cars and buildings and all sorts of other things. Fire is important. I would say that fire, above all else, is the cornerstone of our technological advancement. And who am I? Who are you? I mean, I'm the product of that, of that process. I can't give a better explanation than that. Mithril Fish asks, have you played Pokemon Conquest? If so, what's your opinion of it? Pokemon Conquest is the go-to game for an example of a game that I really want to play that I haven't played yet. Because it looks like a lot of fun. I enjoy Fire Emblem games, no matter how bad at them I am. And I haven't played other Nobunaga's Ambition games, but, they're turn-based tactics games. So I imagine that I would enjoy it. I haven't played it, I don't own it, we'll see. I don't play nearly as many video games as I used to, so who knows how long it'll be until that day comes. But I'll let you know once that day comes. Scrap X Doll asks, in your own customizable Pokemon adventure, what are the exact specifications of how you would construct your own custom Pokemon game? I can't create games on the fly here, guys. What would your hometown be? Who would be your first Pokemon? Not restricted to starter trios. What would your goal as a Pokemon trainer be? I want it to be set in the past, and your rival is Giovanni, and you try to stop him from becoming a corrupt madman, but you fail, and it's a very depressing and dark ending. I don't know. Favorite non-Nintendo video game series? I would have to put it on Sonic. I was a Sonic fan starting with Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for the GameCube. Lost faith for a few years after Shadow the Hedgehog. Came back during Unleashed, and now it's one of my favorites. The mainline games. I haven't played Sonic 4 and don't plan to. But when they put their effort in and try to make a damn good game, they make a damn good game now. And given my overall lack of other series that I play, that would be my choice, especially if it's a series and not an individual game. And also, what is your college major? What made you pursue that path? I think I sort of addressed this in an earlier video. I'm an English major because I really don't like any other subject. Chemistry sucks, math sucks. History I struggle with. I fall asleep when doing the reading. I do a fair amount of history, honestly. I take humanities courses which are essentially ancient literature and historical texts in the same course, which are generally pretty fun, but I enjoy the literature more. Anthro is very close to history. Philosophy classes are really hard to get into here. They're very popular, so they get filled up real quick. And just ever since high school, I've enjoyed English a hell of a lot more than any other subject. So, there you go. 23 Caterpie asks, which contests, musicals, movies, other... I'll bet the lighting made that look really weird. I don't know, I didn't do contests a whole... I don't really do the side competitions all that often, to be honest. Musicals suck, I can tell you that much. Movies, I like the concept, but there's really not a whole lot of variability in what you're doing. You're more or less following a script and hoping the random number generator works to your advantage. Contests at least kind of gave old moves a new meaning, a new tactical advantage, and a kind of a new gameplay style, which I appreciate. I wouldn't play them any more than I did before if they were to return in a future generation, but I think as a mechanical design choice, I think contests work out the best. And then in 23 Caterpie also asks about my impression of the Generation 6 trailer, which I've, a month ago or something, I made a more in-depth reaction video about that. But overall, positive. Go check out the video itself if you're interested. It's, I think, the most popular video on my channel. Hanny2375 asks, does it snow, and if it does, do you like it? Generally in the towns and or cities in which I dwell, snow is not much of a thing that happens. Seattle is too close to the water. Portland, I haven't memorized the geographical reason why it doesn't snow in Portland, but no, they generally don't. It doesn't snow. If it does, it's often a light dusting. You people in the Midwest would scoff and go out in your tank tops, but I still like it. It's pretty, if nothing else. It can be a bit of a pain. I haven't had to drive in it, so just keep that in mind. I don't know how much of a pain it is. So that might taint my opinion to be more positive. But I like it. It's pretty. And I would prefer cold to extreme heat, so I prefer it over record-breaking summers. Pokemaster163 asks, what is your favorite anime, if you have any? I would... I battle with myself trying to figure out what exactly my favorite anime is. And at this moment in time, I think the anime that I have the greatest appreciation for, and I don't know if it's the single one that I enjoy at every moment of my life, is Fulikuli, which is, if you're not familiar with it, you should be. It's Gainax kind of taking a chill pill after Evangelion, although it was a fair number of years after. And it's just the best freaking narrative exploration of puberty I have seen in an anime. Because so many animes about puberty are like, oh my god, this girl is so hot, I'm so nervous, what am I going to say? And it explores puberty in a lot of different ways, with a lot of metaphor, but it's still a lot of fun. It's got the best soundtrack, and it's beautifully animated, and there's basically no fluff. There's one episode that I think wasn't really necessary, because it was more about another character than about Naota, but really, really good. You can watch it in the evening. It's on Netflix, instant streaming. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's so good. Then PokeMaster163 also asks, what is your minor in and puts in parentheses education, which might imply that the question is minor is my education, or education is my minor. So the college I go to, Reed College, doesn't actually do minors. You can do a major or double major or a combined major, so this might be too much information. Reed has this thing where you write a thesis, right, your senior year, big, 80-page paper, either exploration of a text or historical movement or a science experiment that you've done, and that basically you want your education to center around the material that you're doing for your thesis. And for certain disciplines, you can, dual major, I think is the technical term, where that weaves together two disciplines, but you have to take the full major requirements for both. Or you can do a double major, which consists of writing two theses, which is insane, and nobody should ever do that. Or you can just do a regular major, but there are no minors, because what Reed really wants to do is pump that thesis out of you. But as an English major, I don't really know the requirements for minors at other colleges. I think I heard somewhere that I take the equivalent of a foreign language minor, in that I have Spanish proficiency of 2 years of college education, and have taken 2 Spanish literature courses. And I think that's a minor or something at any other college, but it's not on my transcript or anything. And oftentimes people will be so interested in another subject that they take enough courses that it would probably be a minor. I could probably be a history minor if I wanted to, but there are no minors here, so, yeah. Then also, favorite animal. Parasaurolophus isn't a valid, choice here, is it? Gosh, I haven't thought about this since I only had a single digit at my age. I would say baby seals, pretty adorable. I like cute animals. I am not ashamed of that. I like very cute, fluffy animals. Pugs are on a level beyond. If it's fluffy, if it waddles, I probably like it a lot. Silver Dream 8 asks, what would you say is your favorite Pokemon gen so far? And I think, again, I've answered this in various ways. The generation I go back to play the most is Generation 1, followed by Generation 2. I like aspects of all the generations. And also Silver Dream asks, being a fan of your vids and also a major fangirl, I must ask, have you ever heard of Homestuck? What are your thoughts on it? I have not actually delved into that. I'm trying to think of a non-derogatory term. Cesspit is the first word that comes to mind, but rabbit hole. I have a friend or two who is Homestuck literate. I don't know. I have other things that I want to do with my life than read a whole lot of Homestuck, and I've heard really negative things about its fan base, about its community, and I'm sure those are exaggerated and not representative of the majority, but those have also kind of staved me away when I could be watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer or something much higher art, because, obviously, clearly. If I ever find the time and/or incentive and/or mood, sure, I'll go into it, but I have heard dangerous things. John Watson asks, do you plan to do Super Mario Bros. U? New Super Mario Bros. U, of course. And as I think I've said, I don't have a Wii U, and Mario Bros. U isn't like a system seller for me. When I get a Wii U, I'll probably get it and invite my friends over and record it, but as of right now, it's not high on my list. So, next comment is kind of spaced out between 2 pages, so Panny2375 who I think already... Oh god. Kindle, work with me here. No. Maybe, yes, no. LK Storm 17 asks, do you plan on working on your story that you did for NaNoWriMo Movember? I remember you saying it needed to work. Apparently the official editing month for NaNoWriMo is is March. You give several months time, December, 3 empty months basically, to purge your mind of the story, get it out of your head, so you can come at it with fresh eyes and be absolutely merciless to it. And I still have most of February left, so I haven't reached that point yet, but I do plan to work on it. If I start to work on it and say, oh my god, I hate everything about this, I probably won't rewrite it, because I want to move on to other ideas. I was in Shakespeare and film class today, or not today, yesterday. I started coming up with an idea for something to write for the next NaNoWriMo, which was essentially It's a Wonderful Life, but with two dudes going around and revisiting each other's memories. I'm more, I think this is a common thing, I'm more excited for creating new material than making old material better. So I'm going to force myself to do the editing process. It's a good thing to do. I need to do it. I plan to do it. It probably won't be an enjoyable process for me because I hate everything I do. Yes, it needs work, and I'm going to work on it, and I'm going to hate it. Oquio, asks, I recall you used to be a lot more unforgiving in the amount of nonsense you were willing to take from the fans, particularly game requests and ROM questions. But at some point in the past, you mellowed out considerably and became a much friendlier chap. What prompted that transformation? Basically, people stopped doing it. People stopped asking me to do games. People stopped asking me where to get ROMs. Maybe it might be, the ROM issue might be ROMs have become a lot easier to find, or it's just become more common knowledge how to get ROMs. But basically I stopped being a dick because people didn't prompt me to be a dick, which is good, I guess, because it means I'm not being a dick, but it's not really a transformation on my part, and I still have that dark, corrupt part of my soul in me. But I think I'd like to become I became a nicer person. In senior year, I did a little bit of theater, and that made me more compassionate and nice. But I don't really know if there was an audible, clunk where that transformation occurred. People just kind of stopped asking. Maybe after I stopped doing so many ROM hacks. Is there a story behind the vitamin part of your new name? I was trying to think of something to add to the beginning of Datai, because on Twitter there was already somebody with a username Datai, and they were Japanese, and so I was like, well, what can I add? I don't want it to be numbers or anything. I want it to be still relatively recognizable for old fans, which may or may not have worked out. And it's like, well, V is I don't know, it came to me. I didn't go through an extensive thinking process. I think it was just something that sounded good. Number 3, and most importantly, who is the manliest gym leader? And this is assuming that I don't become a gym leader, so obviously it wouldn't be me. I would say I would have to go for Chuck if we're going with gym leaders. Because Chuck is a boss. I love Crasher Wake, but if we're going by standard societal expectations of masculinity, Crasher Wake does actually have a number of feminine aspects to him, including his love of costume. And while I don't necessarily agree that it's a good thing to associate that with traditional masculinity, or not, I guess I got my words mixed up there. While I don't look down on him for doing so, it doesn't align with the traditional aspects of masculinity, and therefore I cannot call him the manliest gym leader. That's all I got. I love all of them, don't worry. The Korean Gamer asks, this is a recall to your 5,000 subscriber special on the old channel, but do you still have that Eevee plushie? Now, back when I recorded the first episode of this Q&A special, I fished around in my closet and I pulled out that Eevee plushie. It has now been a month since then, and I'm in a different state, and I did not take the Eevee plushie with me. But yes, I do. He's still in my room. I believe he's sitting next to a stuffed panda right now. He's there, for sure. Don't worry. What is the worst injury you've ever had? Broken rib, fractured paletta, split weenus, etc. This right wrist here, you see this? Once upon a time, I went skiing, cross-country skiing with my dad. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And that must have created some sort of karma reaction. Because on a very small hill, I was skiing along, complaining, and I, fell forward. I lost my balance, I fell forward, and I tried to catch myself with my right hand, and somehow the way I landed, it split. It didn't break in half. It didn't break cleanly, but this wrist, basically the top part of the bone, is supposed to look like this. It went like this. It's called a green stick fracture. It wasn't pleasant. My parents didn't believe me when I said it wasn't pleasant. They thought I was being a big baby. Because I was already being a big baby on that trip. So then a couple weeks later, my brother goes into the hospital with an actual injury, and they said, oh, well, he's still complaining about it. Let's have him checked too. And egg on their face, I had a broken wrist. Fuck them. It wasn't too bad. I had to wear, not even a cast. It was a brace, something. It was all right. But I'm right-handed, so I couldn't write as well, which sucked. Are we to expect another solo run for 6th gen after you've played it, of course? Sure. I don't see why not. Unless there's something in the game mechanics that prevents solo runs from being a thing, which I can't imagine. Sure. It's what I'm known for. What games do you play casually? Some people have WoW, LoL, RuneScape, etc. That iPhone game that I mentioned in a previous episode, Flow Free, that I play that casually. Tetris occasionally, but I'm not subscribed to any MMOs. I don't play LoL. Tried it once, didn't end well. Not if I'm gonna goof off and play a game, it'd probably be a Pokemon game. So yeah. Mr. Namey asks, what is your favorite/least favorite dish? Which I don't generally think about my least favorite things. My favorite dish is clam linguine. I think I mentioned this on the old channel in the same 2,000 subscriber special. Basically, linguine, clams, some little bit of chili flakes, with clam juice and olive oil and sauteed garlic. Not all those in the same order, but something like that. Some parsley, not too much. Parmesan cheese. Very good things. Least favorite dish would be... I have a personal vendetta. It's probably not the worst thing I've ever tasted, but those pre-cooked chickens from, UFC or Safeway or your local supermarket, there's no soul to them, you know? You know what I mean? There's no soul, and I don't like eating it. Why don't you like frogs? They're slimy, some of them are poisonous, they're not fuzzy. I like fuzzy animals more than I like other animals. I think this might be a response to my discussing Froakie from 6th Gen and not really liking him. But I mean, I've had 11 frogs named after me at the same time in 1st grade. So it's not like I completely hate frogs. They're not fuzzy and cuddly. So, how did you and Lyko become friends? We were classmates in 8th grade, basically. And we bonded over a mutual desire to get to class early. So we would both kind of leave for our after lunch classes down at another building at around the same time. That led to conversations, that led to friendship, and that's where it is now. What do you think of capitalism/liberalism and communism as political ideologies? Do you think they could be combined to form a better political and social climate in the world? This is a very complicated subject that I'm not educated enough to satisfactorily answer. I think every pure ideology is really idealistic. Capitalism trusts that people won't be dicks. Communism kind of trusts that people won't be dicks. Unfortunately, a lot of people are dicks. So, I tend to lean more in the direction of government helping people, because the government is there to help people, and that'll lead to certain economic things. But it's not something I want to dwell too much on, especially since it's a controversial thing, and I don't like to push people away based on political ideas. Number 5, since I live in Sweden and I've relatives in the USA that I have never met nor know the names of, I have to ask, what do Americans in general think of Sweden, and what do you know about Sweden? Americans in general know that IKEA is Swedish, and Swedish is a very unpronounceable language to many Americans. So that's what most Americans know. I know that, I have a generally positive look at Sweden, but I don't know that much about it, I have to be honest. We don't hate you, and that's more than can be said about, France or most of the Middle East. Then again, I come from more tolerant societies, so maybe down in the redneck areas of Texas and whatnot, they really hate Sweden, but I couldn't say. You're fine. You're cool. I like you. You seem like a cool enough dude, and if you're anything to go by the rest of Sweden, it's probably a pretty cool dude. Enigman asks, how is it being a part of Hellfire Comms? I have trouble being in any sort of group. I'm a very nervous person in that way. When there are people of authority and I have to speak to them, it's like, whoa, I'm scared. And, we're all a bunch of goofy nerdballs who play video games, so, once I get comfortable with, talking with someone, then I will be comfortable, and that's about it. It is, dealing with Tom, he has to schedule recording sessions for himself and with other people, and it's a bunch of events, and he's 8 hours away, eight time zones, so that's a bit of a pain. But that's just kind of logistics of being part of a business. Of course, I've never been in a business, so it's a lot more serious than, hey, I'm going to wake up Saturday morning and play some Pokemon, and then record some commentary in the break between classes that I have or something. I don't know. I try not to do that. It's for all the fun that people in Hellfire Comms commentaries have, there's a business side to it. And I'm still kind of getting used to that. What would you say to yourself from the last Q&A, and what do you think of him? Don't No, I didn't really worry about college. I'm pretty satisfied with how my life went. I think the guy from that Q&A special did a pretty good job considering. I'm okay with where he got me. So, keep up the good work is probably what I would say. And, oh god, no. Kendall, why? It's a question about supporting alpaca owl marriage. Now, I would be concerned specifically about the owl aspect. Alpaca is great, but it's very hard to get, like, a proper vow out of an owl. Because, I mean, okay, let me paint the image for you. They're at the altar, right? And they got an alpaca on one side and an owl on the other. And the priest says to the alpaca, "Do you take this owl to be your lawfully wedded husband?" And the alpaca says, "Yes, I do." And the priest says to the owl, "Do you take this alpaca to be your lawfully wedded wife?" And the owl's like, "Who?" Get it! I came up with that on the spot. I'm proud of myself. But I mean, if they're in love with each other, I'm not going to stop them. Mr. Namey also asks, where did your ancestors come from? Europe, Asia, etc. The two genetic things that I'm actually aware of from my ancestry are Scottish and German, which are both European, of course. Given how much racial mixing there has been in the past several, like, generations since people got to the North Americas, I probably have some other stuff in there. I might have Native American. I'm not super pasty white, although it might look it because I don't get a whole lot of sun because I live in Portland. But those are the two main, like, races that I'm aware of that I come from. And of course, I've never worn a kilt. I've worn a skirt, but I haven't worn a kilt. I've never tasted haggis. I don't speak a word of German except Gesundheit. Apparently I'm tangentially related to Mark Twain on my German side, so that's cool, but it's not that I reject my racial heritage, it's just, it's not a part of my life. I'm just a white guy, basically, and I think a lot of people are at this point. Kalixzuman Pakzagazaga? Kalixzumana Paxa asks, what do you think of the band Queen? Do you listen to it? If yes, what do you think of the show Must Go On? I mean, Queen is actually one of my favorite bands. I can think of very few Queen songs that I don't actually really like. I'm not a big fan of Killer Queen, but Don't Stop Me Now is great. Bohemian Rhapsody is great. Just about everything they've done is great. Show Must Go On, sure. No problem. And I'm very disappointed that we didn't get to sing Queen for my high school graduation, but we'd probably do it a tremendous disservice, so it might be for the best. And then also wants to see me without my glasses, and I think I might have, I did take off my glasses in my first part of my special, but this is what I look like without. And I don't know what I look like without, because I can't really see myself without. I never wear contacts. Generally, I have, like, dark circles under my eyes. I don't know if you can, that might just be the lighting, but, so I think having glasses, just for that slight line there, helps offset that, make it look a little bit better. It's an aesthetic thing. I could get contacts, but I don't really want to. Chuckleheads Unincorporated asks, is there anything specific you're hoping to see in the new Pokemon games? I really hope that the Pokedex is entirely new Pokemon up until the post-game, like Generation 5 was. I think that was a really good decision. I like experiencing a completely new land with completely new monsters. So that's good. I would like that. I don't know if that will be the case, but who knows? We'll see. And then, finally, final question, oh my god, with 20 minutes to spare, burp, Cynical Giant asks, favorite Pokemon generation aesthetically, both in terms of region/town design and Pokemon. Believe it or not, I really liked the art direction of the Generation 2 games. I think given the limited color palette, while still having a color palette, they did a really good job to create more of a rustic, like, feel. That's not really what you asked about, though. It's not... You didn't really look about the art direction. You wanted region and town design and Pokemon. I can't choose. There are goods and bads in all of them. I didn't really like the linear nature of Unova in Black and White 1. It was improved in Black and White 2, but it still felt very linear. And linear isn't always bad, but Black and White 1, it was really obvious, and that took me out of it a little bit. Other than that, I really don't have any hoorays or nays for any of the region/town design. And Pokemon, there are goods and bads in both, for all generations. So, I'm just gonna go for Generation 2 because of the art direction that I mentioned. So, take that. And that is, unless I accidentally skipped any because my Kindle was acting up, that is the last question for the 2,000 subscriber Q&A Extravaganza, which I almost forgot the name of, but didn't. So, thanks for watching if you're watching. Thanks for subscribing if you are subscribed. If you're not subscribed, I don't know why you'd be watching this. This is like eating someone else's cake. Like, 2,000 people paid for a cake, and then you ate some. Except that would be mean. So, if you aren't subscribed and are watching, maybe you should subscribe, or maybe you should go off and fight cancer or something, I don't know. But thanks for watching, and I will see you guys this upcoming week for Elite Week Round 2 of the Black 2 Blind stream, and then a special prize. Oh, what the fuck, I'll just announce it now. Majora's Mask with Lyco.